Chesterton, I don't know if he actually said it, but it's attributed to him. When people stop believing in God, they don't believe in nothing, they believe in anything.
Right.
And I could prove this. The only people who say men give birth are people who don't take the Bible seriously. The people who take the Bible seriously actually have a rational view of which sex gives birth.
Yes. People who take the Bible seriously believe in science and medicine. Hey there, sports fans. My guest today is my very dear friend, Dennis Prager. And I just want to say, on the one hand, that's a good thing. The bad news is that it's all downhill from here, because I have so much fun talking to Dennis that I just know the rest of the day is going to be a bummer. But by God's grace, I will get through it. Dennis Prager, my friend, welcome.
That may be the greatest introduction I ever had.
It's utter truth. It's utter truth, because you there's just something about your personality that we click. I have fun with you, sometimes too much fun, and people have to reel me back in. Okay, let me just start out. The reason you're on this program, there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about here. First of all, you're on this program because you've got a new book out called The Rational Passover Haggadah. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. The Rational
you did it beautifully.
Passover Haggadah. Now, I've got a lot to say because I don't really want to give you a chance to talk. Here's the issue, all right? The copy that I was sent is a publishing screw-up. The printer, okay? The printer, the front of the book is the back of the book, and you open up the book. People can see if they're watching this online. The front of the book is the back of the book, and you sent me a bum copy, and I just want to know, why would you do a thing like that?
Well, I would send you a bum copy just to get your reaction.
Yeah.
But as it happens, as a scholar of antiquity like you should know, Hebrew goes right to left.
Ah, come on. You're just saying that.
Yeah. No. What can I tell you? My other books do go left to right. Anyway, it takes a person about 30 seconds to get used to it. And, of course, it's overwhelmingly in English. However, the complete Hebrew is there as well, so that people who do know Hebrew can use it for the Passover Seder. Many Christians now practice a Seder. Jesus is said to have said, I think in the New Testament, there are Christians who disagree with me. They think it was the night before or the night after. But in any event, it was a Passover meal. So the Passover Seder is the oldest holiday in the world. Arguably the most important.
Wait a minute. Older than Kwanzaa?
Such a good point. I never was challenged with Kwanzaa. I have to rethink my
Kwanzaa
position.
is ancient. It's like pre-Nubian.
Yeah, well,
it's like 5,000 years ago. Do you know that they had the ability to fly? Did you know this? Yes.
I didn't.
Oh, yes.
I didn't know that.
Well,
no.
You're melanin deprived and you don't know anything. Let me talk to you about your book. It's called Dennis Prager, The Rational Passover Haggadah. And we got to be honest, ladies and gentlemen, I knew that it's intentionally printed backwards. We say backwards because we, who live in America, who read from left to right, when we're confronted with something like this, it looks like the printer made a mistake. I have had my own books messed up like this, and you go, wow, what a screw up. But this book is intentionally printed because you're trying to emphasize that Hebrew goes right to left. And Dennis, you've made your point. Can we move on?
Yes, I just want to explain the title. As you know, I've been working on a 5-volume commentary on the first 5 books of the Bible, and it's called The Rational Bible. Genesis, Exodus are out. Deuteronomy is coming out at the end of the year before Christmas. And this is, therefore, it's taken from the title of my Bible commentary. The Rational Passover Haggadah is part of the Rational Bible series.
Now, when you say, I've got issues, everything you say could be a show. You call these books, it's the Rational Bible. That's like compassionate conservatism. Like, do you really need to apologize? Do you need to make the statement like, I know you think conservatives are monsters, so we're going to call it compassionate conservatism. Thank you, Marvin Olasky. Thank you, George W. Bush. Do you have to say the Rational Bible as though everybody's thinking the Bible's irrational? Is that your game, Dennis Prager?
Yeah, to a certain extent it is. I think that one of the reasons that we have in a biblically illiterate, and worse than illiterate, apathetic population is that they dismiss religion in general and the Bible specifically as irrational.
Right.
And the other reason I use the term is that I only use reason to make my points. I never ask people to take anything on faith. This, I believe, my vehicle to God has not been through emotion, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Just Dennis Prager's vehicle to God is reason, not emotion, not mysticism. I don't have a mystical bone in my body. I wish I did, by the way. I envy people who have a mystical bone or many mystical bones in their bodies.
Right.
They're probably richer in
Even
some
a
way.
mystical
I don't.
sinew would be good enough, right?
One sinew, correct.
One lousy sinew.
Correct.
Come on. Well,
Yes,
look,
yes.
I always, I communicate by joking too much, but when you say what you just said, this has, of course, always been an issue for me. And my new book, Is Atheism Dead? That's effectively the subject of the book. The idea that not only are faith and reason compatible, not only are they compatible, but the faith in the God of the Bible and in trusting the Bible is the height of rationality and sanity. And I think because we do live in a world where the opposite is maintained so often, it is important that we say this again and again and again. And so even though I tease you, I think calling it the Rational Bible and the Rational Passover Haggadah is important. I want to talk to you more about the Passover and about your idea behind this. Now, you said that Jesus conducted a Passover Seder. So are you saying Jesus was a Jew? I want to get this straight because I'm pretty sure he was a Christian.
I never know what's going to come
really,
up.
I'm a little confused. You're claiming Jesus. Whoa, Jesus is a Jew. He's one of you. He's one of you.
A religious Jew.
I'm pretty sure he was Greek from the island of
I'm
Cephalonia.
sure. That's right.
So
exactly.
All right, I think this program is done. Albin, can we wrap it up here?
Oh, God, I never know. It's so important, folks, to listen to every word when you're interviewed by Eric Metaxas, because you have no idea what he'll sneak in. And that was a perfect one. That was a good example, I have to tell you.
You have no
By
idea.
the way, I just want to say on the reason issue, here is a Chesterton, I don't know if he actually said it, but it's attributed to him. When people stop believing in God, they don't believe in nothing, they believe in anything.
Right.
And I could prove this. The only people who say men give birth are people who don't take the Bible seriously. The people who take the Bible seriously actually have a rational view of which sex gives birth.
Yes. People who take the Bible seriously believe in science and medicine, actually.
That's right. Yep.
This is funny. You may remember, I think it was either Annie Hall or Manhattan, where Woody Allen is standing in line in a movie theater. Do you remember this one? This is like a famous thing.
Very well. Go on.
And somebody in front of him, this is like the classic, the 70s, Woody Allen's heyday. You have two New York intellectuals in line, or online, as we say in New York, arguing about something. And one of them is being very pretentious and talking about Marshall McLuhan's views of media or something like that. And Woody Allen is so annoyed at this pretentious person making the point. He says, "Excuse me, we have Marshall McLuhan right here," and he pulls him out.
I'll never forget that. Okay? The real Marshall McLuhan.
Okay. The reason I'm saying this is because I had an incident like this flying back from, I spoke in Albuquerque, had to fly through Chicago. The plane was delayed in Chicago. Thank you very much, American Airlines. And I'm standing there about to board the plane. I'm not making this up. This is like out of a movie. Right behind me, I hear two people in their late 20s. And the guy says, that I have just spoken 4 times in Albuquerque on how faith and reason, or faith and science, are utterly compatible. But I hear a guy behind me say, I'm a science guy. I know that faith and science are totally incompatible. Like, I hear this behind me. And I wheel around, and I have a conversation with this person who I think he was drunk. But I would argue, Dennis, and we've got more time to get into this, but I would argue that this is the issue of our time, which is why I rejoice that you have written the Rational Bible and the Rational Passover Haggadah, because this is the issue of our time, and it's being challenged, it's almost more preposterously every day.
The issue, I knew this in my 20s when I wrote my first book. The issue is God. And I mean specifically the God of the Bible. A lot of people believe in God, but they don't believe in the same thing I do. Whenever somebody says I believe in God, if I want to get into a conversation with them, I will ask them one question. The God you believe in, did this God give the Ten Commandments? And if they say no, then I respect them, I may even love them, but we don't believe in the same God. My God and Eric Metaxas' God gave the Ten Commandments. Whatever other beliefs we have, that is another issue, and not a problematic issue to me. But if you don't believe God revealed his moral will, then the God you believe in, you made up.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking to Dennis Prager, and in the next segment, I will try to shut up more and let Dennis talk more. And I will succeed by the grace of God. We'll be right back. Folks, welcome back. I'm talking to my friend, Dennis Prager. At least I hope he's still my friend. Dennis, are we still friends?
On a scale of 1 to 10, 9.3.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, by the way, people who are watching this, and I tell everybody to go to my website, ericmetaxas.com, sign up for the newsletter so we can send you these videos, because they can see I'm in a gorgeous studio, and you are in your new studio. Is this the new studio for SalemNewsChannel.com?
That's
Is that
right.
where you are?
That's correct, yes. So people can watch my show now, and I finally have a beautiful setting, and it's worth watching.
Who decided to put that plate next to you? It's like, that's a feminine touch. Was that Sue? Like, you need something here to soften you?
That is hilarious. It was my producer, who has a very strong feminine side. It was his
idea. You need a
his
plate.
idea to put a dish there.
You need a plate. It'll soften you, because some people think of you as harsh. Your book, the new book, is called The Rational Passover Haggadah. Now, you've written all these books, the Rational Bible. For whom did you write this book? And it's like a half a joke question, because I know in a way what your answer is.
Right. I know you know my answer, but the question is very serious and very important.
Yeah.
Literally everyone.
Yeah.
I deal in the book with the biggest issues of life, because the Passover raises it. So, for example, I have a lot of little essays in there, so that people will have substantive things to talk about if they read it together. And one of them is this: if God took the Jews out of Egypt, why didn't he take them out of Europe? I mean, everybody, certainly every Jew, has asked that question, but they don't ask it out loud, or they're certainly not going to discuss it at the Passover Seder. But that's the elephant in the room, and it's the elephant in the room for Christians. If God did X for, if Jesus cured the blind, why doesn't God cure the blind today? I mean, it's everybody can ask this. And it's a completely legitimate question, and I deal with it. Why doesn't God solve all the problems of evil? That's essentially it. But that's an example of one of the many issues I raise and discuss in this book. So that's why it's for everybody, literally everybody.
It's very specific. I mean, you have stuff in here about the meal itself. I just flipped open to a page, maror. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Right, bitter herb. Yes, maror, bitter herbs.
And it says all present should take a chizayit, olive-sized piece of
the
maror,
size of an olive,
dip it into the haroset, make the blessing, and eat. This is going step by step through the Seder.
That's right. You can actually create your own Seder with this if you want. You could read it in the middle of February. It doesn't matter. It's to be read at any time, but many Christians are now having a Seder, and I think that's a great, great development. One of my great laments, and it's a big theme in the book, is rituals have kept Jews alive for 3,500 years. And America may not survive because its rituals are dead. Oh. There's no more July 4th, no more Memorial Day.
You're speaking my language. You may not know, but this is in every segment, I'm going to refer to one of my books. In my book, If You Can Keep It, I talk about this issue, that is exactly what's happened in the last 50 years since the 60s, and I know you agree violently. We have dispensed more and more and more with these traditions and rituals,
That's right.
it is fatal to a culture, to a people.
Right.
So
Jews survived 3,000 years, 2,000 of them outside of their own land. America may not survive 300 years inside its own land. And the ritual issue is a major reason. July 4th used to be a big day. Now it's hot dogs and barbecue. Memorial Day used to visit the grave sites of those who died protecting this country. Veterans Day, likewise. Thanksgiving has become Turkey Day. That's if it's anything. If the left has its way, it will be Genocide Day.
But on a positive note, no, but seriously, this is all true. I have talked about this a lot over the last number of years because I realized that something happened in the 60s. You know, that's the inflection point,
That's right.
roughly speaking, in the culture.
That's correct. Yes,
where we
that's
basically
right.
said America bad, patriotism bad, God probably doesn't exist, and let's see how it goes. And we are now facing cultural Marxism in America, tyranny, you know, all that good stuff that happens if you turn your back on God. Just saying.
No, you're right. It's that's so. I just want to get back to that theme. The rituals are so essential. So that's another theme that I deal with in the book. That's why I mentioned, why are many Christians having a Seder? Because Christian life has been denuded of ritual in many ways.
Absolutely. Some denominations,
I'll give
you're
you
right, yeah.
Yes, I'll give you an example that really bothers me, and half my listeners who agree with me on virtually everything don't agree with me on this.
Right.
You should dress up to go to church.
For crying out loud. And get a haircut. What's the matter with you?
I don't care about the haircut.
No, you know
I care
what?
about what they wear.
Dennis, I can actually argue both sides of this. I could argue both sides of this because I think, I mean, basically,
it's a ritual. Getting dressed nicely is a ritual that has been lost.
One of my favorite books in the world is called Chance or the Dance by Tom Howard. I dedicate my new book to him, and he deals with this issue. Human beings are created for ritual, symbol, meaning,
That's right.
on and on and on. We're going to be back talking to the great Dennis Prager. Don't go away. Folks, welcome back. I'm talking to Dennis Prager, who has written a book called The Rational Passover Haggadah. Now, you know, on the surface, it doesn't sound like a book that you might want to get. I think you're wrong. I think, Dennis, you have done something here that is very, very important, specifically for Christians. Obviously, I'm a Christian, although you claim Jesus was a Jew. I'm very confused. But there's a page in here. It says, the Jews began as primitive as all other peoples. Don't you mean to say the Jews began as primitively as all other peoples?
That's a riot. No, the primitive there is a noun, and you're using it as an adverb because it modifies began.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna let that go. So, but talk about the concept when you say the Jews began as primitive.
That, by the way, again, that's in the liturgy. I am explaining what this phenomenal 2,000 year work. Maybe it's older, but what it says, and it says a lot of non-Jews don't know this. The Jewish belief, and it's in the Bible itself, is you're not special Jews. I chose you, but not because you're special. The Torah is special. The Ten Commandments are special. My teachings are special. If you carry them, you'll be special. In fact, anybody will be. So we started out no better than anybody else. It was just what we got at Mount Sinai that raised us above any other nation in any way.
And that's the point. And we have to make this theological point over and over and over again. If God chooses you, the whole point is it is a burden. It is a terrible burden. It is a blessing and a great burden to be chosen by God. Anytime God chooses any of us individually to do anything or whatever it is, it's not like, yippee, you don't click your, hey, we're chosen, you're
Right.
not. No, on the contrary, it is a sobering thing. And the story
That's
of
right.
the Jews through history is that story. I just read a book on the plane. Did I mention I was in Albuquerque? Coming back from Albuquerque, that purports to identify the Pharaoh of the Exodus. Do you ever talk about that or think about that? I'm fascinated with corroborating, the biblical narrative with extra
I mean,
biblical history.
whether it was Ramses II, for example?
This
Is
the person.
Is that the theory?
No, there's many theories, but I just find it fascinating generally to learn the history of the Egyptian dynasties and to begin to think about it again rationally and to say that this is not folktale. This happened. There are extra biblical evidences for what happened, because there are plenty of people, liberal theological scholars, they'd like to see the story of the Exodus as the founding myth of some people called the Jews.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's what they want to say. Among other things, the names are contemporaneous with the events, but I have a bigger argument for the authenticity, especially of the 5 books of Moses, the Torah. If Jews made it up, they would have depicted themselves far more positively than they're depicted in their own Bible. Nobody makes up an ignoble past. The Jews get out of Egypt, the Exodus takes place, and what do right away? They build a golden calf. Why would they make that up?
Listen,
who makes up a history that makes you look awful?
But wait a second. Pete, you asked this question, you're asking a rhetorical question, but we have to be clear. We have to answer the question, Dennis, because not everybody knows this. If you know the history of ancient peoples and you know the history and the literature of ancient peoples, you know that, in fact, no ancient people ever tells stories about themselves that are true and negative. They do not do that. I was literally in Central Park yesterday passing Cleopatra's Needle, which was created in 1600 BC, and the verbiage on there, it's like blowing smoke times 1,000. There's nothing negative. It's about it. No ancient people, except for the Jews, ever told the truth, including, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But most people, if you don't know history, you wouldn't know that. You wouldn't know that it's extraordinary.
How exceptional.
It's singular.
Right. Mm-hmm. Bless you. That's right. That's my biggest single argument for the authenticity of the text.
I mean, the idea that they were in slavery, that all these things happened, there's no ancient people. Why is it that the Jews told those stories on themselves? Why did they have, actually we get back to the word, they had a rational, we could say today, scientific view of everything that other ancient peoples didn't have. That has to come from God, because you don't see it in evidence even slightly anywhere else.
That's my argument. That's exactly right. That's why I'm animated to write these commentaries. I will tell you as well that writing this, the hardest project of my life, I might add, and obviously I couldn't do it if I weren't fluent in biblical Hebrew, which is a gift that I got early in my life and then pursued. But I want you to know how helpful it has been during these terrible years of the lockdowns and the hatred and the riots. It's so peace-giving to immerse yourself in texts that you believe ultimately are divine. So I as hard as the work is, it is 5 times more rewarding.
Do you make your lovely wife Sue at home call you the Rebbe or something? Because you're basically a rabbi who has a radio show. Does Sue call you the Rebbe? Just tell me, because nobody's listening.
That is hilarious.
Rebbe,
actually,
what can I bring you?
Most of the time she calls me honey.
Honey, that is so sweet.
Yeah, I know. It's very biblical.
I'm very fond of your wife. She's a good kid.
I know you are. Well, you know what I have a motto. They come for Dennis and they stay for Sue.
That is very good. That's excellent.
Isn't it?
All right, look,
I know, that's my
we've got
motto.
one more segment, unfortunately, just one more short segment with my friend Dennis Prager. Folks, the book is The Rational Passover Haggadah. This might be a good time of year to get a copy of the Rational Passover Haggadah because we know the Seder, the whole Passover, obviously points to Jesus. We'll be right back. Folks, I am talking to Dennis Prager. Do you understand what I'm saying? Dennis Prager. Dennis, I just love talking to you. I wish I could talk to you a lot more about everything, but you're a busy man. What more do we need to know about the book, The Rational Passover Haggadah, other than that it's printed backwards intentionally?
We sent out 50 copies in digital form. It wasn't yet printed to 50 listeners whom I asked on my show if you would have probably little intention or no intention of buying this, even though you may get my other books, but this just may not appeal to you. The word doesn't even make sense to you, Haggadah. Send us your name, and we'll send you the digital printout or the digital words. And then all you need to do, we ask you to, within 2 weeks, to send us your reactions. And then you'll get a free copy of the printed book when it comes out. So obviously people wrote in. We sent out 50 digitally. They'll get it as soon as it's printed. It's printed now. It's coming out today or whatever the day is.
Yeah.
It's coming out now. So if you read their reactions, the vast majority of them not Jewish, they would say, I got to just say, contrary to what I would ever have imagined, the book has changed my life. That's the intention. The great issues discussed, the meaning of faith as a rational argument, as you so resonate to. I mean, you will love this. I have no doubt. I know you so well, and you know we love each other, and you will love this. And I'll tell you, Charlie Kirk, whom we both know, and Charlie said he has just started observing the Sabbath, and he's a committed Christian.
I was in the room.
Oh, that's right. You were at the table. Bless you.
And I was listening to the two of you have this conversation, and I was thinking privately, what idiots. No, seriously, when you guys brought that up,
Yep.
I was sitting there thinking, I want to do this. And I actually have begun to do this in a quiet way. Well, actually, I'd like to have you on.
That's
to talk
another.
about
That's
this
another great
time.
dialogue for us. Let's do the Sabbath one day.
I'd like to have you another time talk about that.
My only point is, Christians need more ritual, more divine ritual. This is a great first step.
That is so important, so beautiful. I'm so glad you framed it that way. Let me ask you a couple of silly questions before you go. It says in the back of your book, you've traveled to 130 countries, all 50 states. You've lectured on the 7 continents. Okay, tell us about lecturing in Antarctica, because I never heard this. Come on.
Correct. I took about 100 of my listeners to Antarctica, and I lectured there. I mean, I also went on the land and lectured to the penguins, just to be really precise that not only did I lecture on the waters off Antarctica, but on the land. Since there are no humans there, there is a picture of me. I should put it up again, lecturing to about 200 penguins. So
the idea,
in addition to people,
that you did this, I have to say, the idea that you took a bunch of your listeners to Antarctica, it sounds cruel, strange. I mean, I had to ask you about that. That is so
that's very fair.
Beautiful.
It's cool, huh?
That is
I know, I agree.
It's at least cool.
Right.
But I mean, how extraordinary. 130 countries, that's also hard to believe. Like, that is astonishing. I mean, this is
I agree with you. I'm very proud of it, actually.
Well, of course you're proud of it. You should be proud. Listen, I'm honored to call you friend. Folks, anything by Dennis Prager, Prager University, the new book, The Rational Passover Haggadah, highly recommended. Dennis, we love you. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
It's mutual. God bless you.